everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Reading with Role Models. I'm Hollis with the Hullabaloo Book Company. This is my daughter Etta, and today we are reading with Amy, who is a mental health counselor. We think that this is an episode where grown-ups are going to want to stick nearby, not because we're talking about anything scary or inappropriate, but because the book she's reading today, The Rabbit and the Motorbike, is beautiful, and it deals with feelings of fear and inadequacy and a little bit of loss. Now, we feel like this is an appropriate book and an appropriate conversation to have given what is happening in our world today. And Amy is going to give us some tips and tricks on how we can reframe the conversation that we sometimes have in our minds that lead us to fear and insecurity and a failure to move forward. So afterwards, we're going to give you some prompts so that you might be able to carry on this conversation with your kids afterwards, and in case they might be experiencing some feelings of fear or nervousness. Who better to help us through that than a trained professional? So we hope you enjoy today, and we would like you to take it away, Amy. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Amy and I am a mental health counselor. As a counselor, I am in the helping field. So some health helpers that you may be aware of are doctors or nurses. And if you think about their job, they are looking at our bodies to make sure that we are healthy and well and that we just feel good, right? And as a mental health counselor, part of my job is looking at the body and making sure that people feel safe and secure and healthy inside their bodies, but also to start listening to their bodies and some of the messages that they are sending us. For example, our bodies might be telling us that we should be worried about something, or they might even be communicating that we should be excited about something. And sometimes we can feel the same thing, like a racing heart or some flutters in our belly, if we are feeling both scared and excited. So I help people who come to see me in my office to understand what their body is trying to tell them. And I do that by asking about a situation that is going on for them, or I might ask about an emotion that is coming up. One of the things that I tell people is that all emotions are welcome. Everyone has emotions. All emotions are okay. There's no good or bad emotions, but there are uncomfortable emotions. So I teach people to almost sit with uncomfortable emotions and get more comfortable and welcome them and become curious about them. Because when we become curious, we start listening to messages behind those emotions and what our body's telling us. So sometimes those messages are coming across in thoughts, and those thoughts and feelings will also impact what we do, our behaviors, and how we see the world. It kind of gets a little bit complicated sometimes, but the main thing that I want you all to know is that I chose this job because I wanted to help people, and I love it. It's so rewarding. And overall, I think I help people to feel kind, to be just a little more kind, and to be curious instead of judgmental. So in today's story, we're going to meet a character that might be struggling with some difficult emotions and thoughts as well, and we'll see how those thoughts and emotions impact his behavior. And we'll talk a little bit more at the end of the book. Today we're going to be reading Rabbit and the Motorbike. This is a story written by Kate Hofler, and the art is by Sarah Jacoby. We are so grateful to Chronicle Books for allowing us to read this story together. Rabbit lived in a quiet field of wheat that he never left, not even once, even though there was a road, and even though he dreamed he did every night. Every night. But Dog would visit. Dog was too old and sick to leave the field now, but he had spent most of his life going all over the country on his motorbike. And he loved telling Rabbit about the places he'd felt most alive, where he'd howled at the moon. Dog made Rabbit feel that wherever he'd been, Rabbit had been right there with him. Rabbit loved Dog. The world is beautiful, Dog would say, if you're brave enough to see it. Even new places can feel like long-lost friends. Every day was filled with a good story by Dog. Every day. Until the day it was filled with a bad one. And Rabbit's field was quiet again. The days were wheat. Except for one day when he heard a not quiet sound. Rabbit didn't know why Dog would leave his motorbike to him, since he didn't go anywhere. He hoped the bike would like not going anywhere. On days Rabbit collected carrots, the motorbike collected leaves, but not for long. The wind always carried the leaves to faraway places. When birds made nests in its spokes, there was bird song, but it was a life quieter than a bird's, and the birds always left. One night when Rabbit was in the mood for a story, he brought the motorbike in, but it didn't tell Rabbit any stories, and Rabbit had none to tell it. So they just listened to the distant sounds of the highway. When summer came, everything was growing and blooming. Even the road blossomed out. Rabbit and the motorbike stayed planted on the porch. Because I'm scared, he told it one night, as if it had asked a question. When Rabbit slept, he heard the long howl of its engine in his dreams. A beautiful howl. Okay, he said softly to the bike one afternoon, just down the road. But roads are long. Rabbit forgot that. Quite long. Long roads took him to where the giant redwoods were, where Rabbit was the wind that carried the leaves. And by the sea where birdsong whirled, where all the birds wanted to fly like Rabbit. And through the Mojave Desert, where Rabbit howled at the moon, where he felt wild and wondrous and full of stories. Wherever they went, Rabbit and the motorbike were the distant sound of the highway that others heard. And Rabbit felt Dog right there with him. The heart can sing like that. Certain roads take all summer to get back to a field of wheat, Rabbit noticed, especially on a motorbike. But this road eventually did. And when it did, the days were wheat again, but they were also motorbike and wings and stories. Stories that kept old friends and new right there with him. Wasn't that a wonderful book? I love this book for so many reasons. So first, I love that just like we are all listening to stories by role models during this time, Rabbit had a role model. Do you remember at the beginning when I was telling you about my job and I mentioned talking to people about their emotions and their thoughts and their behaviors and their physiological feelings? It seems like Rabbit really wanted to do something big. He really wanted to go out into the world and experience the stories just like Dog had shared with him. But there was one big problem. Do you remember what it was? Because I'm scared, he told the motorbike. He was scared to go out into the world. And so that's where sometimes emotions, we all have those emotions and they're not good or bad, but it can keep us stuck. Those emotions, they're uncomfortable and sometimes there's a thought associated with them. So I'm wondering what Rabbit's thought was. Why are you so scared, Rabbit? Is one of the things that I would ask him. What thoughts are making you scared? And Rabbit might say, well, I'm scared because I've never done this before, or I don't know where to start, or I don't know how to ride a motorbike and I'll never be able to learn. And so sometimes our thoughts can involve automatic negative thoughts. We want to be able to recognize those, get really curious about why we're having a certain emotion, and remember that it's not bad that we're having the emotion, but it's sometimes backed up by a belief or a thought. And I would ask Rabbit, are those thoughts true, Rabbit? How do you know? Can you imagine what you would rather feel? And one of the things that Dog said, the world is beautiful, Dog would say, if you're brave enough to see it. So let's take a minute and think about something that makes us really scared and think about all the physical sensations that we might feel. I know for me, when I'm scared, my heart is beating fast and I might have some butterflies in my stomach, or I might have some tightness in my shoulders, or my jaw might feel tight, or I might be sweating. And my thought might be, oh, this is too scary. I'll never be able to do it. And that's when I get curious. Wait a second, how do I know? If I want to feel brave, I might take a deep breath in and imagine, what would it feel like in my body if I were brave? I might still have some butterflies in my tummy, especially if I'm excited. I might have a racing heart because that comes with excitement too, right? But I might feel a little more open in my shoulders and in my chest, and I might have a smile on my face. That's another thing that we could do. We could check in with the emotion that we would rather feel versus the uncomfortable emotion and change our thoughts. How do I know that I won't be able to do this? I don't know, but I can find a role model. I can talk about it, and I can even take my behavior. If I'm scared, I might stay planted on the porch like Rabbit. But if I feel a little brave, I just might go just a little ways down the road, just like Rabbit. Okay, he said softly to the bike one afternoon, just down the road. And what happened when he took a tiny step towards his big, huge goal? I can imagine that instead of feeling scared, Rabbit started feeling a little more confident and excited. And before you know it, he's accomplishing his goal. So take some time and maybe talk to your grown-up about some big, huge goals that you have, and maybe think about the emotions or the thoughts that are coming up that might be keeping you stuck, and maybe figure out who would be a good role model to talk to give you some steps to take, to give you some encouragement, and to challenge those automatic negative thoughts. I hope that is all helpful and that you all have fun getting curious about listening to your body and listening to your emotions and your thoughts and believing in yourself. I had so much fun with you all, and I hope you had fun reading this book with me as well. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, Amy. We think that not only was that a beautiful read of a beautiful book, but you've given us so many things to talk about and think about next time we are feeling scared. Parents, if you are interested, Amy sent us some prompts and some questions that you might want to ask your children regarding the book. So after I say goodbye, you're going to see a screen come up with all of those questions, and all you need to do is take a simple screenshot. You can save it for later. We hope that you enjoyed today. We hope that you'll join us on Thursday for another really fun role model. And in the meanwhile, if you're still in quarantine like we are, we hope that you stay safe, stay well, and stay home. Thank you. Bye.